Hello everyone and welcome to Storytime. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Miss Catherine and today we're going to hear the story of Little Red Riding Hood. But first, let's sing a hello song. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Hi, how are you? I'm fine. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. All right. Next, we'll start the story. Once upon a time, there was a dear little girl who always wore a little cap of red velvet that her grandmother had given her. So she was called Little Red Riding Hood. One day her mother said to her, "Come, Little Red Riding Hood, here is a piece of cake and a bottle of wine. Take them to your grandmother. She is ill and weak, and they will do her good. When you are going, do not run off the path, or you may fall and break the bottle, and then your grandmother will get nothing." The grandmother lived out in the wood, half a league from the village. Just as Little Red Riding Hood entered the wood, a wolf met her. "Good day, Little Red Riding Hood," said the wolf. "Thank you kindly, wolf." "Where are you going so early, Little Red Riding Hood?" "To my grandmother's," she said. "What have you got in your apron?" "Cake and wine. Poor sick grandmother is to have something good to make her stronger." "Where does your grandmother live, Little Red Riding Hood?" "A good quarter of a league farther on in the wood. Her house stands under 3 large oak trees. You surely must know it," replied Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf said, "See, Little Red Riding Hood, how pretty the flowers are about here. Why do you not look around? I believe, too, that you do not hear how sweetly the little birds are singing. You walk gravely along as if you were going to school, while everything else out here in the wood is merry." Little Red Riding Hood raised her eyes, and when she saw the sunbeams dancing here and there throughout the trees, and pretty flowers growing everywhere, she thought, "Suppose I take my grandmother a fresh bouquet." And so she ran from the path into the wood to look for flowers. And whenever she had picked one, she fancied that she saw a still prettier flower farther on, and ran after it, and so got deeper and deeper into the wood. Meanwhile, the wolf ran straight to grandmother's house and knocked at the door. "Who is there?" said the grandmother. "Little Red Riding Hood," replied the wolf. "I am bringing cake and wine. Open the door." "Lift the latch," called out the grandmother. "I am too weak and cannot get up." The wolf lifted the latch, the door sprang open, and without saying a word he went straight to the grandmother's bed and devoured her. Then he put on her clothes, dressed himself in her cap, and laid himself in bed and drew the curtains. Little Red Riding Hood had been running about picking flowers, and when she had gathered so many that she could carry no more, she remembered her grandmother and set out on the way to her. She was surprised to find the cottage door standing open, and when she went into the room, she had such a strange feeling that she said to herself, "Oh dear, how uneasy I feel. And at other times I like being with grandmother so much." She called out, "Good morning," but received no answer. So she went to the bed and drew back the curtains. There lay her grandmother with her cap pulled far over her face and looked very strange. "Oh, grandmother," she said, "what big ears you have." "The better to hear you with, my child," was the reply. "But grandmother, what big eyes you have," she said. "The better to see you with, my dear." "But grandmother, what large hands you have." "The better to hug you with." "Oh, but grandmother, what a terrible big mouth you have." "The better to eat you with." And scarcely had the wolf said this, than with one bound he was out of bed and swallowed up Little Red Riding Hood. When the wolf had appeased his appetite, he lay down again in the bed, fell asleep, and began to snore very loudly. A huntsman was just passing the house and thought to himself, "How the old woman is snoring. I must just see if she wants anything." So he went into the room, and when he came to the bed, he saw the wolf was lying in it. He took a pair of scissors and began to cut open the stomach of the sleeping wolf. When he had made 2 snips, he saw the Little Red Riding Hood shining, and then he'd made 2 snips more, and the little girl sprang out crying, "Ah, how frightened I have been! How dark it was inside the wolf!" And after that, the aged grandmother came out alive also. The huntsman drew off the wolf's skin and went home with it. The grandmother ate the cake and drank the wine which Little Red Riding Hood had brought and revived, and they all lived happily ever after. All right, did you like that story? Thank you so much for being here today. Next, let's say the goodbye rhyme. Tickle the clouds, tickle your toes, turn around and tickle your nose, reach up high and reach down low. Story time's over. Now wave goodbye. Goodbye. All right. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. I was so glad to see you. Hope to see you next time. Goodbye.